Creating an effective workplace safety committee. We we meet here where we then try by all means to create lessons that make sense in terms of health and safety. So today our focus is on creating an effective workplace safety committee. We all know that under the Occupational Health and Safety Act, Act 85 of 1993, there is a section there that actually indicates the whole idea of us people who if you are having a company or an organization, there is a point where you would need to actually appoint sheriffs. And when you appoint sheriffs, you then need to then also um, uh, create safety committees. So the act is clear that the moment you have two or more safety officers or sheriffs, then you would need you would need to start to to appoint as well as to create a safety committee. Right, a safety committee at any workplace need not to be biased towards management. It's very important that you would have more she-reps in the committee, opposed to a situation where you have more managers than the employees themselves. For instance, if you have got like three or four she-reps in that particular site or in your company, then it means that you would then need less than three management or members of managers of management to be part and parcel of your of your safety. What would actually bring in the effectiveness of these safety committees? We need to understand that there are three important aspects that safety committees should do. What they do is that they contribute positively towards the safety management system of the overall organization. So, if you are going to be having quite a number of she-reps and safety officer, then coming up together with management teaming up to then have a safety committee, it means the objective of that or of such a committee is to actually spearhead and push the impact of safety management as a system as a whole. Right. The other also important part is that it does create some kind of levels in organization for us to understand that this is a reporting structure, because we will then have a situation where employees are able to be safe to inform their sheriffs so that the sheriffs are able to escalate information that they've collected from these employees and take this information straight to to management, right? Another thing that we need to know is that, remember, safety officers together with the sheriffs, their main task is to become a liaison, a link between management and employees, which means in this situation we are saying employees will always feel safe to talk to their safety committee people or the sheriffs, and then sheriffs are able to then escalate information to management. Remember, the most important part about formulating a safety management system is to create a balance between management and employees, because you would understand that in any organization, managers, they want to make money. They have got targets they would want to make to the target. So the target is to make profit. The target is to make money. The target is to increase turnover. The target is to increase sales. If that's the case, and the target is to make sure that the project is submitted. The target is that we need to finish whatever we are building, if it's a construction, and so on. At this, all these targets in this project planning, they've got a repercussion and an impact on the safety of the employees, which means that if we push these targets and forget the safety side, then we are going to have a problem. What are these problems? One of the biggest problems is that if you are running a site, you are running a factory, you are running an organization, and you are in a situation where you don't actually focus more on safety management systems. You might be in a situation where your site is closed. You might be in a situation where your factory is closed. And if your factory is going to be closed, how are you going to be able to reopen? It's not easy. Those who have met Department of Labor before, they know very well, Uti. Once your site has been closed, it becomes very difficult for you to actually reopen it. Let's also continue and see uh, issues that we were explaining on the organizational benefits. I was explaining on the organizational benefits. Let's see some of them. A few, of course. One of the benefits here we can talk about is reduce safety committees. Safety committees, they will thrive to reduce incidences, and and remember, we are all trying to run through a certain goal. Our goal here is to have zero incidences. And even here at Lusatec, when we get to your site or we get to your company, we push that, we assist you to comply in such a way that you have zero incidents. We have to reduce them, right? When you reduce incidences, what is it that you benefit as an institution? What do you benefit as an organization? What do you benefit as a company? You reduce incidences means that there is no lost work time, right? So from both management point of view and workers point of view, you are both not losing work time, because if somebody gets injured and you are forced to close off your site, there's a high chance that management will put into effect no work no pay. You are not working, so how do we pay you? So they will stop paying you. So actually, as employees, we are bound to work hard to make sure that there are no incidences at work, because we are protecting our jobs, we are protecting our salaries, because we are paid because we go to work. At the same time, we are protecting the company, that if it closes, or the Department of Health or Department of Labor comes and closes it, then it means we are no longer we are going to be jobless. And if you are jobless, then what's gonna go on? We are going to fail to bring bread on the table and hash. Kwabe sekulimele ke abantu abaningi lapha. Right. Another thing is that if we are going to be having successful safety committees, we are also going to be promoting a culture where there is involvement of all levels of employees. Because remember, most meetings are done at management level. Safety officer goes and meet the site manager, meets the supervisors, meet the foreman. But the question is, are layman people, or the people who are working on the ground, are they involved in this whole thing? The issue is they are not. How do we then get them involved? By making sure that if we put into effect the Occupational Health and Safety Act, which says elect safety sheriffs, right? When sheriffs are elected, then it means that we are now representing, or employees are now represented at all levels, because we do take sheriffs down from whoever is working on the site or on the floor there, right? So that's one advantage or one benefit to the organization when you put proper and successful safety committees. The other thing is that you actually accomplish more safety initiatives, because we now have committees that sit down regularly to talk about these safety issues. So here we are discussing, why is it necessary for us to actually come up with successful safety committees, which, remember, we are referring back to the Occupational Health and Safety Act, where from chapter 17 up to chapter 20 thereabout, it talks more about how companies need to uh, put into effect the election or the appointment of safety officers, the appointment of sheriffs, right? And then once sheriffs are appointed and there are two or more, then you should have committees, which is what we call safety committees. And in these meetings, as we are talking about these meetings, in these meetings, now we're looking at how they benefit the organization. Let's look at the employee side. How do they benefit the employees? It creates a safer work environment. Simple. The work becomes safer. We are all going to be safe. We are all going to feel safe that we are working for this organization. At the same time, it improves communication, because if we are sending people who are our representatives to go and be in the meetings, therefore they are going to be communicating issues that has got to do with our work. So it improves the communication. It does increase safety awareness amongst us. Safety awareness is increased amongst us. We all talk about safety. We all have meetings, and during the meetings, it basically means that we are going to have more information on safety awareness. It also enhances our morale as employees. There's nothing important as feeling like you belong, right? Now, if you are going to be working for a company that does not even recognize that you are there, then you don't feel like you belong. And that's the moment where you start having issues with the company. But if a company is able to actually involve you in decision making, involve you in communication, involve you in meetings, you start feeling, oh, I belong here, right? And if you feel that you belong to a company, that then that's one important thing. I've always argued with people who don't take this part serious, where you talk about motivating and increasing staff morale, because people take it for granted that you have got employees or you have got an employee. It might be, even if we get out of occupational health and safety and talk about people who have got maybe a helper at home, or you have got somebody who is doing your garden at home, or you are running a shop, you have got two, three, four employees, and you just think that these people are here to collect a salary. That's where most companies are losing it, right? What you need to do is you have to invest in everything that increases staff morale or employee morale. And one of the things that increases employee morale, it's not about money. Of course, money is the most important thing at the end of the day. But money does not increase staff morale, because there are people who are working for highly paying jobs and they're not happy, right? They are stuck there because of money, but they are not happy. You need to pay people very well, at the same time increase or improve or enhance their morale. And one of these things is creating some committees, creating ways where communication is spread over or throughout the company, as well as ways where you involve employees or you create more employee involvement. In that situation, then you know Uguti, your staff or your employees have got enough morale. Because let's look at this situation, good people. A person wakes up in the morning, right? Most of the time around 6, you are already preparing to go to your company. So which means company time starts at 6 o'clock when you wake up in the morning, and you are bathing, you are preparing, you're doing this, you drive or you walk or you take a bus, take a steamer, or whichever way you use to get to work. Right, you start working whichever time you start working. Work until around 4 or half 4 when you knock off. When you knock off, you need to prepare to get back into traffic, drive home, walk home, get in a train or whatsoever. You get home again at 6 or approximately around that time. So, which basically means that if this thing of saying 9 to 5 like Americans, or 8 to 4, or 7 to 3, I don't know how you put it. It's not. That's not it. People dedicate their time to their work from 6 a.m. until 6 p.m., which basically means that the huge chunk, half of their day, a huge chunk of their day is dedicated to you as an employer. Therefore, why not give them staff morale? Why not give them the best? Because they are actually spending more time on you as the employer. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to the next part where we need to ensure that you you make sure that you are in line with written laws or acts and stuff like that. For instance, here we are referring more on Occupational Health and Safety Act 85 of 1993, in line with its all regulations that comes with it, as well as amendments that were put forth as time moved on. You also need to make sure that your committee has got a mission statement, right? A mission statement is that motto, that statement that motivates you, that statement that shows you direction. What is the direction of your your committees, right? And then of course you need to structure it, agree on how many people you're gonna put into the committees, and what are the roles for each and every part of of the committee. What are the functions of the committee? Of course, in a safety committee is always chaired by the safety officer. So a safety officer, there's no two ways about it. You are the chairperson of the committees, right? Therefore, as we teach safety officers, as we teach she reps, as we discuss as people who are involved in OHS, we need to know that safety officers are the ones who are going to be chairing these meetings. So the roles that we need to add in there, each member must have his own responsibility from the employee point of sight. The chairperson is the safety officer, and then we have got other she reps that are there. Then we give each other roles and responsibilities. Of course, the management needs to be informed why they are in the meetings. Management needs also to be informed why we involve them in the meeting. We involve them because we would expect them to give us feedback on what we could have discussed on our previous meetings, and we ask them timelines and all like that. Then they are able to come back on the next meeting to give us a briefing, or to give us the statement which indicates good how. Um, Last time you guys asked for instance, you asked for safety belts, you asked for harnesses, you asked for stuff like that. Therefore, the company has already ordered them, or the company has ordered them, it's coming, or it has been delivered and they are here. So we expect such things, right? Another thing that needs to be discussed there is how frequent are the meetings? How frequent are the meetings? Do we have them every week, every month, every whatsoever? But remember, the frequency of the meeting depends on uh, what can I say? How risky is your site? For instance, if I am running a very active and risky site, it means that my committee meetings need to be scheduled frequently. It has to be scheduled frequently. Why am I scheduling it frequently? Because I know for sure that there can be incidences in many parts of my site, because I have an active site that is very risky. However, if I am going to be running a site that does not, that poses low risk, right? If I'm going to run a site that poses low risk, then there will be no reason, or there will be no need for us to have frequent OHS meetings or safety committee meetings. We can schedule them to be a bit wider apart from each other. Yeah, but so all these things, they depend on how active is your site where you are working. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, we are not only talking about sites in terms of construction only, even though in most cases we give we give examples of construction sites because they are the ones that have got a lot of incidences that are happening. However, we talk about safety across the board. You can be in a restaurant, you can be in a factory, you can be in a warehouse, you can be in a school, an organization, wherever you are. Safety is always important, whichever place you would be. Let's talk about the next thing is agenda. As a chairperson who happens to be either a safety officer or one of the sheriffs there, if you are the one who is the safety officer, I mean the chairperson, it is very important that you make sure that you identify ways of coming up with a proper um, agenda, right? Remember now, agenda is connected to your objectives. And if you are going to talk about objectives, objectives have to follow that principle which we always talk about. Objectives need to be smart. People they say they should be smart, right? So smart being an acronym that we use to remember stuff. We're saying objectives need to be specific. So create your objectives. What you want to achieve with your meeting. Once you have created these objectives, test them. Are my objectives specific? Because you don't want to have an objective that is too broad and you don't really know where to start, where to end. So if an objective is made straightforward to be specific, then there comes in this idea that we say you are about to follow a smart objective. Remember, from being specific, they need to be measurable. Do not put an objective that is not measurable. Here, most people would see measure and think it has got everything to do with numbers alone. Remember, you can measure something in quantity or you can also measure something in quality, right? Which means if we go deeper in using words, we would say this is a quantitative way of measuring something, and this other way is qualitative way of measuring something. For example, if I would want to use measurements, I can say I would want to achieve a profit of 20%, right? I would want to achieve a submission of maybe 3 reports in a week. It means now I do have a number or a figure to measure my objective. But sometimes there are certain things that you are doing which really do not have numbers. So you would then use quality, you would qualify them using quality, such as you would want to have minimal incidences. You would want to have a proper something of that nature. It means now you are no longer using figures, but you are using the quality, which means that you are putting only the qualitative part of view or point of view there, right? For instance, if I'm going to say I want to grow thinner, I want to lose weight, I want to go thinner. It basically means that I have got measure. My measure is I want to see myself getting thinner, right? But if I would want to quantitative put quantity on it, then that's where I would then try to say I want to lose weight by 10 kgs. I want to wear what? But at the end of the day, you have measured it. So objectives need to be of that nature. The next thing there is that you need to also to check if your objectives are really attainable, achievable. Can you achieve them? Can you attain them? That's self-explanatory. Do not put objectives that you know that you can't or you will not be able to achieve them at the end of the day. The objectives must also be relevant, right? Objectives need to be relevant. They have to be realistic and relevant. And lastly, they have to be time framed. Put a time in 2 weeks, in one day, in 3 hours, in 1 year, in 2 months, and so on. You have to put time there. So that's a way of actually having objectives that are smart, which then are going to assist you in creating an agenda, right? Once the agenda has been time, give enough time. So a notice need to be given to people to say, okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be having a meeting at this particular point. Therefore, uh, here is the notice. In the notice there, you will then be able to give what to call this, the agenda as well. Date should be there, time should be there, and venue should be there. Then we take ourselves further to a situation where we are. So even the workplace committee must have its own mission statement, which is of course short and straight to the point. Now, Here we are talking about you coming up with either some kind of a motto or some kind of a ideology that you put forth so that you would know ukuthi, this is how you are going to be concentrating. This is how you guys are going to be putting forward the whole setup. So the purpose is to provide a general idea, right, of the safety goals or certain focuses that you want to put in place for all the people who are employed within the organization or the company or the site you are working at. That's the importance of a mission statement. Because if you are going to go to a mission without a mission statement, then there is bound uh, for failure. You need to have certain words that you abide to. You need to have a motto. You need to have a focus when you are going into mission. Because we are looking at this committee that you are in a mission to push an agenda where you are going to have zero incidences at your workplace. And the only way you can get there is by pushing the mission statement of the safety committee meetings. And of course, as soon as you are done with your mission statement, you then have to come up with some kind of bylaws, parameters within which you are going to be operating. So you would want to have to have goals and objectives. You would want to indicate, and remember an earlier slide we did speak about these goals being what will assist you every time when you would want to come up with an agenda. You go back to the goals and objectives, and remember we said the objectives, they need to be smart, they need to be specific, measurable, achievable, they need to be realistic or relevant, and they need to be time framed. Right? Now, you also need to indicate duties of members. Who are the members who are coming into this committee? Therefore, each member there need to be given duties, right? And then responsibilities and training is important. We can never over emphasize the issue of training. It will become a cliche because every time when we talk about any training in occupational health and safety, we always we always make sure that we talk about the importance of training. When we talk about training, we are not only referring to training that results in somebody being given a certificate or training that result in somebody going out of what call it from your organization to go and get trained, or you calling organization like us, Lusatec Training, to come and train your people. No. When we talk about training, we are referring to that segment of time you would take to put people in a particular room or in a particular site or place and educate them on their duties, educate them on their responsibilities, educate them on what's the purpose of this committee and so on. That on its own is called training, right? So training can be in-house, something that you as a safety officer, you create some kind of a small documentation, some small notes, you provide them to your people, and you take few minutes, an hour, or even less, sit down with them, and then you train them. It's very important. Okay. Of course, the committee bylaw will also talk about the meetings. How often are the meetings? How long will the meetings? Who will be there? Who should chair them? And then you then put on the hazardous identification and control section of your bylaws so that you can be able to say what should we include there. Workplace inspections, your JSAs. What is it that is meant by JSA? Right? That's your job safety analysis. Sometimes they call it JHA, which is job hazardous analysis, right? So we call them JSAs. You can also do incident investigation, and we can also talk about induction of the safety and health program, right? So those are some of the things that we would expect that uh, people would have under the bylaws section of your safety committee meetings.